Hello out there in internet land. Welcome to this week's episode of the P&J's Formula One chat. I'm your host, Phil Lamington, and sitting beside me, about a metre away from me, is my intellectual jousting partner, JB. How are you, JB, my friend?
I'm good, mate. Intellectual jousting partner.
Yes.
Not very intellectual.
Well, I was trying to give you like a bit of a bump, but clearly you've taken it as I've just demoted myself.
I feel like you've demoted yourself there, mate.
Well.
But no, we're sitting at a not quite socially distant 1 metre.
Because fuck Anastasia Palaszczuk.
Because the Delta strain is on its way, baby.
Piss off. That's bullshit. How we've got to scan a QR code to get into Coles now.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, I went into Coles yesterday afternoon at Canelands, and there was 3 elderly ladies. There was a lady from Coles who was taking down their personal information before they could even get in.
That's why I shop at Woolworths.
I mean, I even went to JCar this afternoon, and they've got the QR code.
They're real scared about it getting up here, eh? We've been lucky.
It's not going to come up here. We're not as dumb as New South Wales and Victoria.
Well, they are better at football than us, though.
That's true.
Bastards.
Yeah, but still, onward and upward.
That's it, mate. We have got a Grand Prix to talk about because this is an F1 show,
not an Anastasia Palaszczuk bagging show.
No, we'll save that for friendly Geordies.
No, he goes after Gladys particularly.
Goes after Bruz.
And Bruz. Oh, we just got demonetised for that. Fuck you, Bruz.
YouTube just banned us.
Fuck you, Bruz. Send the Commonwealth cops after us.
Yeah, here come the anti-terrorist police. Are you ready? What's that sound?
So, last night, or this morning, was the Styrian Formula One race. I got the name right.
Well done, mate. They swapped it on us.
From the Red Bull Ring in Austria,
in
the Styrian Mountains.
Apparently, I've never been there. Looks like a fun place to go, though.
It was a really interesting race.
It was. Yeah, there's a lot of good performers out there. A lot of people that, and I guess the good part for a few people further down the order is we're only going to have to wait 4 days for it to have another crack. But it was a good race, and it was a real good flex for Red Bull. Just outright pace over Mercedes, and I was actually a little surprised, to be honest.
It kind of reminded me of like the days when Schumacher was in Ferrari and he would just dominate, and that's how this one felt like too. It felt like just an old school domination, but not an old school boring domination, aka Hamilton didn't win. Sorry, Aldas.
No, and I mean, this is the first time probably in the turbo hybrid era that Mercedes have been properly whipped at a rate. Like, when's the last time? It's usually Lewis winning by 30 seconds, and yeah, I know he had that pit stop at the end, which made the final winning margin blow out, but this is like, they were proper whipped. Like, they were proper hammered. Verstappen was untouchable this weekend.
Well, speaking of the results, so we've got Max Verstappen in first place. Then Lewis Hamilton, who also had the fastest lap. Mm-hmm. He came second. Valtteri Bottas just pipped Sergio Perez to fourth. Bottas came third, sorry.
On the podium.
Yeah.
He probably needed that.
Lando Norris had a really solid drive in fifth, even though he started in third, didn't
he had the 1 lap pace to go third. But remember, Bottas had that grid drop as well.
Yeah.
So really he would have started fourth and finished fifth, and I'm not upset with that, really.
Because Bottas decided in practice to try and do a Mazepin spin in the pit lane.
A Mazepin spin of his own.
And we'll get to Mazepin soon because there was a funny thing that happened with him. So in 6th place was Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. That was a solid drive from Carlos Sainz.
It was, but an even more solid drive from his teammate who finished 7th.
Yes, LeChuck.
What a yeah. That was a pro. That was, and he was driver of the day. He was voted driver of the day,
and it was
rightly
well deserved.
So. Yeah, first lap chaos and just bolted a set of mediums on and just went to town. It was great. It was real good to watch. Both those Ferraris had good pace, and I'm hoping next weekend if Daniel Ricciardo can get his shit together a little bit better, or his engine can get its shit together and not clonk out, we'll have a real good race between those two next week as well, McLaren and Ferrari.
Well, that's the thing that I've noticed about Ferrari this year is they have either a really good Saturday and then a really shit Sunday, or they have a really average Saturday like they did this weekend, and then have a really good race pace, like a really good Sunday.
They weren't as outgunned in the straights as people were talking them up to be.
No.
Like, they actually had good straight line pace. Like, there was a lot of... They seemed a little nervous going in that they might not, and maybe ultimately they didn't have the ultimate outright pace of the Honda engine or the Mercedes engine, but it was definitely well enough.
I think it was last week's race at Paul Ricard that sort of it took the confidence away from them because they had nothing on the straights at Paul Ricard.
Yeah.
And then you come to this track, which I know when you look at it from a topographical perspective, it's not a similar track, but from a setup and how the track operates, it is actually a very similar track.
It is.
It's a power track.
It's high-speed straights into slow corners, into sweeping corners. A lot like Paul Ricard, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Just more interesting and less crap.
I don't know. I think last week's last race out was pretty good, but...
I was just talking about the track in general.
Oh, yeah. Magny Core.
Austria is just, the Red Bull Ring, it's just got that something. It's just got that something.
It's just simple and basic and...
It's like Monza.
Yeah, it's a track built for overtaking.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of straight lines into a bunch of slow corners, perfect for overtaking.
And Herman Tilke hasn't got his greasy little mitts onto it and ruined it.
That's it.
In 8th place was Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. He kind of had a nothing race. Like, he just flew under the radar.
I think he'll be happy enough with 8th, though. I think he'll definitely be happy enough with 8th. That's probably as good as they could have hoped for.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Aston Martin was quicker than... it shouldn't have been quicker than the McLaren. I think Gasly retiring early, he would have definitely finished in the top 10. So I think that's as good as Stroll could have hoped for, because if Ricciardo was, over his engine gremlins and Gasly didn't crash out, I think he would have finished 10th.
Yeah.
Barely. So...
Then 9th place was Fernando Alonso in the Alpine.
He had some actually decent pace. He had some decent race pace on the hard tyre. Like he was having a good scrap with Vettel early on.
Yeah.
I think he'll be pretty chuffed with that.
And then you got Yuki Tsunoda in 10th place in the AlphaTauri. He had a solid day, but it sort of sums up his entire year. Like, it's
been okay. He had moments. He had moments, and he shows moments, and he's a very flash in the pan driver at the moment.
Yeah.
And that'll come with consistency.
Yeah.
But I think, again, another one probably lucky to be in the points, because let's not forget about George Russell as well down there. He could have easily been top 10.
Well, he is someone I'm actually disappointed didn't get any points. In 11th place is Kimi Räikkönen, because I thought he drove really well. He
kept his nose clean through some chaos. I mean, he did have a decent showing out there. Probably one of his better races of the year, actually.
He showed his experience, but also he did show flashes of the Kimi of old. Not on the radio, obviously, but there were moments there, like when Leclerc tried overtaking him, and he just fought him. Eventually, Leclerc got him.
Yeah.
But
in an outgunned car too. You got to remember the Alfa Romeo is far and away not. It's a mid-pack car.
yeah,
In fact, they're like the third worst team in the constructors this year.
yes,
So it's not a great car, but he fought tooth and nail with what he had.
yeah,
And the shades of old Kimmy, shades of a couple block passes and a couple of wily old veteran moves for what he could, for what it was worth.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it wasn't worth any championship points today, but
yeah.
it was. Yeah, you're right. It was good to see.
Then in 12th, as I dung the microphone with my glasses, in 12th is Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin.
I don't think he had a great weekend.
No.
I don't think he had a great weekend at all.
Yeah, that Aston Martin just seemed like it was underpowered, oddly enough. Like it just...
Yeah.
It was missing a bit of guts.
Yeah, he'll be pretty disappointed considering he was on the podium a couple of races ago.
Speaking of missing a bit of guts, 13th place is Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren. Now, unlike our friends at Fox Motorsport News and Paul di Resta, fuck you, Paul di Resta, by the way, I feel really bad for Ricciardo. Like his engine was cutting out and he had issues.
He made up 4 spots on lap 1. That car had plenty of pace and he had plenty of potential, and then something happened and he lost power and had to do a steering wheel reset on the fly, like filter through the steering wheel toggles and do the reset. What do they call it? Fail, zero, fail.
Yeah.
That's what Mercedes calls it. The fail safe on the fly, and got it started again, but by the time he got it started again, he had dropped back to 13th from where he originally started. And, it didn't stop Fox or Paul di Resta having a chop at his driving style, even though his driving style had nothing to do with his result today, because once you're stuck in that DRS train, you don't get... And, that's the argument. We might go into it later. The argument about moving away from DRS, especially at a track like this.
Yeah.
You're just stuck in the train. You're just a carriage in the train. No one's gaining. No one's dropping back because they're all got the letterbox open.
Yeah.
I don't think Ricciardo's at fault for his position, and I hope next weekend he goes out and proves it.
Yeah. In 14th place was Esteban Ocon, Mr. Personality in the Alpine. He had a bit of a meh weekend, really.
Yeah, he had a very meh weekend.
15th place was Giovinazzi in the other Alfa Romeo.
Not bad, I mean, considering he was spun around.
Yeah, on turn 3 and lap 1. Yeah.
It's a pretty good recovery drive.
16th place was Mick Schumacher in the Haas.
Mm-hmm.
Coming 16th. I mean, I know there's 2 retirements, but I mean, he finished ahead of Latifi in the Williams.
Yep.
So he's got nothing to be ashamed of. I think he though they didn't show it, to get 16th in that Haas, he's done all right. He's got something to be proud of.
It's something. Yeah, it's something to hang your hat on. I mean, it's not a good car. And, it's outgunned at most tracks it visits. But, yeah, you're right. He outdrove his teammate and he outdrove Latifi. And
I think he might have outdriven the car.
Yeah, probably.
17th place was Nicholas Latifi in the Williams. There was a meh weekend for him too.
He had nothing, man. He had nothing.
18th place was Mazepin in the Haas, who didn't manage to spin it or beach it all weekend.
Luckily there's nothing much to hit around there.
And the funny thing was that before the race, Gunther Steiner gave Mazepin a spinner.
Mm-hmm. Was it a top? Like a top?
Yeah, those ones where it's got like the 3 things on it, you spin it.
Oh, the fidget spinner.
The fidget spinner, yeah. And he calls it the Mazza spin.
Oh, no.
So at least Gunther Steiner's got a sense of humour about it.
I guess so. How do you take that as Mazepin, though?
Yeah, he there's the video of it. He had a good chuckle about it.
That's good. At least he can take it in stride, but it doesn't make him any better of a driver.
And then we had 2 retirements with George Russell in the Williams. He retired.
He was so unlucky.
Yeah, he had...
pneumatic pressure failure.
Yeah.
About 8 laps in. This is a guy who put his car on, was it 8th? Where did he qualify?
No, he was 11th.
He was 11th, but when he came into the pits, he was like 7th or 8th. And he was a genuine chance of getting his first points.
He was .008 off making it into Q3.
So he had pace. He drove the arse off that Williams, and 8 laps in, lost pressure, had to come in, went back out, came back in again, and they eventually retired him, which is so unlucky.
Yeah. And then finally Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri, who retired at the end of lap 1, I believe.
Yep, he was clipped by Leclerc, and then
because we'll go through what happened on lap 1.
Yep.
We've got our race notes here. So lap 1, he goes a bit wide, but he pushes Leclerc even wider.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there was a little bit of contact even in the initial going through the corner where Leclerc's front tyre hit the side.
Yeah, there was definitely contact because that's what pushed Leclerc out onto the shoulder, the outer escape road sort of thing.
And then they got onto the straight, and I think both cars moved towards each other at the same time.
Yeah, Leclerc was coming back onto the racing line, and Gasly was sort of moving away from the grass on the inside, and they just met in the middle, unfortunately.
And Leclerc's front wing hit Gasly's rear tyre, caused a puncture on Gasly's rear tyre, and broke Leclerc's front wing, which then caused Gasly's tyre to deflate on a straight, going into turn 3. And then as he's going into turn 3 and just trying to keep the thing going, Giovinazzi tried to overtake him, and he clipped Giovinazzi and spun him. And I also believe he clipped Latifi on the way through as well.
I think Latifi clipped him from the back, and I think that was what broke his suspension.
Yeah.
So
my thoughts on that is, having seen the footage, I think it was just a racing incident between Gasly and Leclerc.
It absolutely was. It was two guys going back to the racing line that thought they were a little bit further apart than they were.
Yeah. It was two racers racing. Really?
I think it was down the middle. I think Gasly thought he was further ahead, and I think maybe Leclerc thought he was further ahead too. I thought he'd slot his front wing back behind his rear tyres, but was half a metre closer than they both realised, and contact was made, and there was no investigation needed there.
No.
Race control agreed as well. Just a pure racing incident, getting two multi-million-dollar cars back in the same piece of tarmac, and it didn't quite work.
Yeah. And also on lap 1, Daniel Ricciardo made up four
four
places.
Spots. He went from 13th up to 9th, and he was flying.
And at the end of lap 1, Max Verstappen had already established that he was large and in charge.
That's it. Their first, Red Bull's first ever pole position at the Red Bull ring, and he capitalised on it pretty brilliantly.
So then we fast forward to lap number 10, and Perez overtakes Lando Norris in what kind of looked like a bit of a soft overtake.
It was a submission move. I mean, Norris is probably right in that he knew he didn't have the pace of the Red Bull, but
it doesn't mean you just give up.
I would have liked to have seen him fight it a little bit.
And then lap 11, he lets Bottas through.
In much the same way, even more the same way. He was actually harvesting power halfway down the straight, which, Bottas just opened the DRS wing and went around him. And, I mean, he's right. Like, the McLaren doesn't have the pace, the Mercedes or the Red Bull, but you put it in third on the grid at a place where you got a podium last year, your first ever podium, and you just sort of roll over and show your belly to them. Yeah. I was a little disappointed. Like, I get it, but I can't say I wasn't disappointed either.
Then we get to lap 25, where the amazing camera work from the producer and the director of Sky Sports manages to catch Lewis Hamilton nearly spinning it and putting a couple of wheels on the dirt.
Yeah, got a bit of big bunch of oversteer coming out of turn. I think it was it turn 3? No. The one
Turn
after
4.
Turn 4 going towards the left-hander. Cooked it, caught it, pushed himself onto the gravel and kept going. But imagine if he'd looped it. Like Perez would have been past him, Bottas would have been past him, Norris probably would have almost been past him as well. So
Yeah.
he was inches from disaster, but good on him, he saved it.
Yeah. Then you get lap 27, where Perez goes into the pits and he has an issue with his left rear. Nearly said right rear. It was his left
it was
rear.
his left rear that didn't come off cleanly. 2-second pit stop became a 4-second pit stop, and he got back out on the track.
All I'm going to say is if that had happened at Mercedes to Bottas, it would have been Bottas's fault. Whereas Red Bull were just like, these things happen. It's racing.
That's it.
Yeah. Like they showed a close-up of the guy on the wheel gun, and he just hung his head in shame, yet the whole team just walked over and went, "No, mate, it's all good."
There's not much you can do. Like,
Yeah,
you practice and practice and practice and practice, and sometimes it doesn't go right.
I think this shows that there seems to be a lot different culture between the teams now. Like, Red Bull has always been known as the serious team because, you've got Helmut Marko who will just execute you on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
But now it seems to have shifted to it being Toto Wolff will execute you on the spot.
Well, I think that comes with pressure.
Pressure and sort of, I think Mercedes has got a realisation that maybe then they don't have this in the bag. They don't have this one this year.
They absolutely don't have this one in the bag, at least yet. It's pressure because they know what they had. They had this well-oiled giant machine that was just perfect in everything it did. And now it's still perfect, I guess, but it's been caught by Red Bull, and they know what they had. They had the psychological advantage and the resource advantage and the car advantage, and now they don't.
Yeah.
And they think, having to try and up their game to a level that they haven't had to be at for 7 years. I think that the strain and the pressure, it starts from the top and it's filtering down through the whole team.
I think part of Mercedes' thing was the last time they had a challenge like this was, 2018, 2019 from Ferrari. And Ferrari performed the bottle job on themselves. Vettel put it in the wall at Germany and on of his own volition. And then Ferrari just performed the seppuku on themselves. I think Mercedes were waiting for Red Bull to do the same thing. And it's not happening.
No, and they're not quite sure how to get out of it.
Yeah, they haven't been put in a position where they have to actually start fighting back. They just can't wait for the other team to just slip on a banana peel like it's Mario Kart.
I think they've done all they can. I think Mercedes has done all they can, and they're finally out of options. They don't know what to do. They don't have anything left to fight with. Because let's not forget, Red Bull got their engine upgrade like last race. They got a new engine, or they got an upgraded engine, or something. And Mercedes,
they're not allowed to upgrade the engines this year.
What's a new engine? Something's up with the engine, and they've found another 20 horsepower or some shit.
Yeah, because they're
it.
allowed X amount of brand new power units.
Yeah.
And they just took a brand new power unit. Like, it's got to last X amount of races. And so it lasted X amount of races, and they took the new power unit. Whereas, because they took the new power unit last race at Paul Ricard, Mercedes took their new power unit at Baku.
Right.
So they can't sit there and say, they've got a new engine, because
they're trying to.
Yeah.
They're trying to.
But the problem is that Mercedes got their new engine the race before.
Yeah. And it didn't work anyway because they didn't win the race there either.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess they're
just banging out of excuses.
Flicking through plan A to plan Z, and they're at plan X now.
The worst part about it is if they can't blame it on the engine, they can't blame it on the aero. You know what they're going to blame it on? The same thing that keeps coming up, even on this podcast, this show. They're going to blame it on Bottas.
They can't blame it on Bottas.
Yeah, but they will.
But
they'll blame it on Bottas, kick him out the door and get George Russell in. Because they think that George Russell coming in will fix all their problems.
Well, it won't.
It won't. We think logically. We don't think like Toto Wolff.
They can't blame it on anyone, but they were outgunned. They were completely and totally outgunned. Like, it's not fair to blame it on Valtteri or even on Lewis.
Yeah, that's right.
They were just smashed. They were smashed, and it's gonna be a recoil effect because they're gonna have to do this again in 4 days, 5 days, for much the same result, I would assume.
The only thing that's going to be different from this race to that race is
the compounds of the tyres.
Compound of the tyres and maybe the weather, like it was last year.
Yeah, because Verstappen's walking out of this with a 50-point swing. Like, yeah. I don't see it ending any other way.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think Mercedes do either. They're like, great, they're going to walk out with the full 50 points in the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship.
It's just going to be damage limitation.
Yeah.
And then hope that their car works at Silverstone.
Yeah, well, it was damage limitation because they finished second and third, which was as good as they could do. But it was almost second and fourth.
Yeah, that's right.
Which just shows the pace that the Red Bull actually had. And I think next week it could be Red Bull, both Red Bulls ahead of both Mercedes.
Yeah.
You know?
Which then brings me to what happened the next lap, which was lap 28, sorry about that, where Bottas went and pitted and he came out in front of Sergio Perez because of the wheel gun incident on the previous lap when Perez pitted.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of academic that we knew once Perez had the issue with the wheel not coming off, that when Bottas pit, he was going to come out in front.
Yeah.
But that kind of governed Bottas and Perez's race, and that's how they were going to finish at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, we're only halfway through the race, and it's a bit of a drawback for the track itself, and in how the DRS train works and how spread out the field was by that stage, that pretty much by the one and only round of pit stops was done, where you were is where you were going to finish. Unfortunately.
I'll come to the DRS in a little bit.
Yeah.
But lap 39, George Russell retires.
Yeah, pneumatic pressure in his car.
That was such a shame. Like he really did well with qualifying and everything, and then
he was going to get championship points.
Which then would have put Williams in front of Haas legitimately.
Yeah. Yep.
But sadly, these things happen in racing, and
try again next week, mate. You don't have. Yeah, it's only a few more sleeps and you'll be back.
And he'll probably have a new power unit, which means it'll work a bit better.
Yep, hopefully.
Then we come to, as my notes have, so lap 42. See if you could spot a trend here, friends. Lap 42. Leclerc passes Kimi Räikkönen. It was a solid overtake. Kimi really fought it, but Leclerc, because he was on an alternate strategy, because he broke his front wing on lap 1, so then he pitted, got a new front wing, and put the hard straight on. So then towards the end of the race, he swapped to the mediums, and he had more pace than a lot of cars, and was just starting to rifle them off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a hell of a comeback drive. It was brilliant to watch.
So then on lap 50, Leclerc passes Sebastian Vettel. Are we seeing a trend here? Lap 56, Leclerc passes Alonso. And then on lap 60, Leclerc passes Lance Stroll.
Yep, those medium striped tyres came to life on that Ferrari, and he just rocketed past all the people that were plodding around on the hards.
Yeah, he came alive. Once he put those mediums on, he came alive.
Yeah, the Ferrari definitely didn't have the tyre hunger issues like they did in France last week.
Yeah.
It may play against them this weekend, seeing as the tyres are going to be a softer compound.
Yeah.
But for last night, yeah, it was definitely a very fast red rocket.
But I mean, it also might be different. Like, he might not crash into Gasly.
Yeah.
So he might not need a new front wing.
He might not need a two-stop strategy. Yeah, we don't know. We will see.
So then we get to lap 70 and Lewis Hamilton pits so he can go out and basically do a qualifying run so he can get the fastest point, fastest lap point. And the final lap 71, Lewis Hamilton gets the fastest lap point, and Max Verstappen decides to do a burnout over the finish line.
Yeah, he comes almost to a complete stop and then lights the tyres up, and Michael Massey got cranky at him for some reason.
So Max Verstappen pulls up, lights up the tyres, and Michael Massey lights up in the FIA office.
Yeah, apparently doing a burnout across the start-finish line while the race is still active is a no-no.
And Bottas and Perez were having an absolute ding-dong fight.
Yeah, Perez was closing on the rear wing of that Mercedes the whole lap, and, one more lap he would have had him.
Yeah.
But
I thought he was going to get him, with two, on the final two corners, but it just wasn't.
Just not quite enough, yeah.
But, I mean, Perez came into play again. If it wasn't for the wheel gun issue, it would have been a 1 and a 3 for Red Bull, not a 2 and a 3 for Mercedes.
Yep.
So Perez has got nothing to be ashamed of. And the team, again, highlighting the culture, like the team were super proud of Perez's performance. I know Max, I read a report probably from Fox Motorsports that Max is extremely happy with Perez as his teammate and is sort of in Christian Horner's ear saying, give him a contract, keep him around, he's good.
Yeah, I think all this does is solidify that.
And he's earned it. He has earned it. Like, Sergio Perez has earned a seat in a top team with hard work and just chipping away at all these years.
He's been podium or thereabouts for the last 4 races in a row.
Yeah.
Like, he won Baku. He was podium or thereabouts in France. He was podium or thereabouts here. He's going to be podiums or thereabouts next weekend. He's solidified that he is making that number 2 seat his own. And I don't think Red Bull are going to be looking for very many other options.
They don't have to.
They don't have to. They've got what they wanted now. They got what they wanted. The reason they signed him was to be the tail gunner, and what they've got now is the perfect tail gunner.
And he even knew that's what he was signed for. He was like, I'm here to be a team player. I know I'm a number 2 driver behind Max. That's what they're paying me to do. That's my job. I will do my job to the best of my ability. And you know what, Sergio? You are doing it to the best of your ability.
Exactly, because it wasn't a given that was going to be how it was, because the same people who said that before him were Pierre Gasly and Alexander Albon. And both of those guys are no longer with Red Bull top team because they couldn't get their handle on the car, and they couldn't be the tail gunner that Christian Horner wanted. And they brought Sergio in hoping that he would be the guy, proven race winner, and he's doing it now.
And the thing about Perez is, and I know Fox Sports News would probably twist it around and say that Ricciardo's doing the opposite, but we don't know because we're not inside McLaren's garage. But something that Perez did was, I think it was after 2 races, he realised he was struggling with trying to get the setup of the car. So he started, and he asked Max if he could do it. He started using Max's setups on his car to try and get a feel for it and then just tweak them. And I think since he's adopted that approach, it's really elevated what he's been doing in the team. So, and the fact that Max was like, here's my settings, go nuts. Yeah. And also, both drivers are working with Alex Albon, who is their reserve driver and simulator driver. So you've really got a concise team effort going on at Red Bull Whereas Mercedes seems slightly fractured with
Yep.
Hamilton. Hamilton does not seem happy that he's not winning, which, anyone would say that. Bottas doesn't seem happy and has also got George Russell looming over his shoulder.
Yeah, every second weekend it's like Autosport's coming out with the whole George Russell wants a Mercedes contract and Valtteri's got to like pee on the fire and like, no, he's not coming. I've still got a contract. This is still my seat. I think it is causing a bit of a rupture there.
Yeah.
You're right. Hamilton's not winning and he doesn't know what more he can do. The team doesn't know what more they can do. Valtteri keeps hearing every second weekend that someone's coming for his seat.
Yeah.
It's a stressed environment, It's a stressed environment they have not had to face in the turbo hybrid era.
If you look at the top 4 teams, there's 2 teams that have got perfect harmony, and there's 2 teams that have got issues. So the 2 teams that have got perfect harmony seem to be Red Bull and Ferrari. I mean, you don't hear anyone complaining about Ferrari.
They haven't had a peep out of Ferrari internally.
They're just turning up and doing their thing.
Yeah, they got a car that can go for the most part.
And then you've got Mercedes where there's the constant hounding of Bottas, and it's got to be driving him absolutely mental.
Of course it is, man.
And then you've got McLaren with the constant hounding on Ricciardo, and that's got to be taking away his confidence.
I don't think that's not coming from McLaren, though. It's coming from Australian newspapers.
Oh, yeah, and Paul di Resta. The whole of the motorsport journalistic community are attacking Ricciardo because they thought, he's in McLaren, he's going to be winning championships. And it's just, you've got to give him time to get into the car and feel the car. I was explaining this to a guy at work this morning who he started slagging off Ricciardo to me. And I was already in a bad mood because of the job I was doing at work. And I turned around and said to him, like, do you understand the concept that, because he was like, Norris is doing so much better than Ricciardo, I don't understand why Ricciardo's not working in the car. And I said to him, do you not understand the concept? This year's McLaren is last year's McLaren, but instead of having a Renault engine, it's got a Mercedes engine bolted into it. Norris is familiar with last year's car because he worked on it with Carlos Sainz. Ricciardo has stepped in and inherited last year's car with a Mercedes engine. He hasn't had a role in developing the car. He's inherited the car and is trying to make it work. Mm-hmm. It'll be very much different next year when him and Norris work on next year's car with the team together as a team.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely hit the nail on the head, man.
Yeah, it's a very similar situation to Carlos Sainz. He inherited last year's Ferrari, which was a Leclerc and Vettel car, even though Vettel clearly couldn't have given 2 shit nuggets about it. It's better than that shit box that just drove by, though. But Sainz has fit in, and it's got the better power unit than what we had last year in the Ferrari. And Sainz is adapting because him and Leclerc are working together.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Obviously, and I guess the Ferrari is easier to get a handle on than the McLaren, maybe. Yeah. For a car that was set up for a Renault engine last year, it doesn't mean putting a Mercedes engine in it. It doesn't mean it's going to be a perfect system. Yeah. I think Daniel might be finding that a little bit. But at the same time, all the pressure's on him because they know how talented he is.
Yeah.
Like, he's a race winner as well. And there's a lot of expectation on him to perform. And I think for the most part he is. I mean, this weekend will tell the story better because, he lost those 4 spots he made up. Yeah, he made up 4 spots on turn 1. So, like, it's not like he didn't have pace initially and he didn't have speed and he wasn't, not comfortable in the McLaren. I don't know how long. I'd like to see an onboard, actually, of how how long the McLaren was shut down for, the engine, because that definitely, that dropped him back outside the points, and that's sort of where he stayed.
Yeah.
Like I said, he was stuck in that DRS train, and couldn't really improve from there. So I don't know. I mean, I think this weekend will shed a lot more light on what his potential is in that car.
Yeah.
Softer tyres, maybe different weather conditions, might be slightly cooler, might be slightly warmer, we don't know. But, and the first guy who's going to want to put his hand up and go hell for leather is Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Because the only way you're going to shut people up is to put runs on the board.
That's right.
So, yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He's got a 3-year contract. Even if this year's not perfect, he's got 2 more.
Yeah.
I'm not super stressed about it. Lando's putting plenty of runs on the board for the teammate, and Ricciardo's got enough talent that if he can get a car under him that's more to his liking, we'll start seeing it. As soon as he's got the car to his liking, we'll start seeing it again.
Yeah.
So it's a work in progress. It's only 8 races into a 22-race season. We'll be fine. It'll be fine.
So now that we've gone through the race classification, here it might we should get like a banner to put up on the screen, like talking points or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was announced over the race weekend that from 2023, the Russian Formula One race is moving from Sochi to Agora Drive in St. Petersburg.
Agora Drive. That's an actual racetrack though, isn't it? Yeah, that's not I thought it was a street track initially, but that's an actual racetrack.
Yeah. Guess who designed it?
Hammond Tilk.
Yep.
It's very Tilkish.
Yep.
Is that a long straight into a hairpin?
Yep.
It actually looks a little bit like Portimao, to be honest.
Now, hang on. So I'm just clicking away on my mouse here because I'm trying to find it. Here we go. It's this one. So it should be on the screen now.
Agora Drive circuit. I don't mind it. It looks like a MotoGP track. It looks like a cross between Portimao and...
Coda.
No, not Coda. That sort of reminds me a little bit of France for some reason.
To me, it looks like a cross between Coda and Abu Dhabi.
Mm.
It's got the long straights, it's got the hairpins. The one thing that I kind of thought they might do just to be idiots is after T4, but after T4, but before T5, try and say that 20 times fast. There's that little offshoot that's not highlighted. I thought they would have gone down that way and then brought it back to after T5, but clearly someone's gone, we need more straights.
It looks like a MotoGP track. It looks like a prototypical MotoGP track. I am not particularly sold on the layout, to be honest. I don't know if there's going to be so much overtaking there.
Well, let's compare it to
The current one.
Splotchy.
Mm.
The sad thing is that everyone sits there and complains about Sochi and how it's a boring track. And yes, it is a boring race to watch. But when we play it on the video game, I actually really enjoy the majority of this track.
I enjoy this circuit. The only part of this circuit I don't like is 13, 14, 15, 16. That shitty outer loop thing after the back straight. But overall as a track, I really enjoy it. But are they moving because Sochi, that's where the Winter Olympics was? Are they just redeveloping that whole area now? Because it seems like it hasn't been used.
Well, the Agora Drive track was FIA certified in 2019. I think that they just want to change the track to somewhere that's... It's a little bit less coastal and a little bit more in a major city to get more people to show up for the race, sell more tickets. But I think perhaps someone has listened and gone, you know what, Sochi's kind of boring. It's time for a change.
Well, they're putting it on a permanent racetrack more so than something that's built around an unused Olympic park.
Yeah.
I reckon they're probably redeveloping that whole area.
Yeah.
I think that's probably going to become housing or something, and this track's just going to become a victim of it, a casualty, you know? We'll see. We'll see how it all goes.
I just kind of wish they'd gotten someone else other than Herman Tilke to design the track, because
How many other track designers are there? Because all I ever hear is Herman Tilke.
Yeah, I don't know. I could design a track.
Yeah.
You know? You give me a compass, a protractor, and a ruler, I could probably design something a lot more fucking interesting than he can.
Did Herman Tilke design the Miami track?
Yep.
Okay.
But he had to design it around landmarks that are already there.
Yeah. And through, like, the car park and shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of Hard Rock Stadium.
Wow, that does not sound like Detroit back in the 80s at all. Or, what was it? They had a race in the 80s, Las Vegas, where it went through the car park of Caesar's Palace.
There you go.
And it was one of the worst races ever.
It probably would have been, but, you know, at least Formula One's breaking into new markets.
That's true.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how this St. Petersburg Agora Drive track goes. I hope it is more exciting than it looks on paper, but time will tell.
Well, it brings up a really good question, because I actually sat here and downloaded a lot of track maps, which means when I edit this video, I've got to sit here and put every one of these photos up, so it's going to take me forever. But currently I've got Abu Dhabi up, and I don't care what anyone says, I hate this track. It is awful.
Yes, but they're changing the layout this year.
Yeah, because turns 11, 12, and 13 are going to be one corner.
Yeah, and that shitty chicane down at turn 5 and 6 is going to be a sweeper as well.
Yeah.
And they've widened the hotel section at 16, 17, 18, 19. I don't know. I don't think it'll improve much, but it'll be less shitty to drive. Like, those chicanes are so awkward to drive. So,
yeah, because they're Herman Tilke disaster pieces. So then we get to Melbourne. Now this is the unmodified version. Not, this is the up until this year version that I've got here, because turn 9 and 10 is going to be one corner.
I don't like that. I like 9 and 10 as a corner.
Yeah, because it's a braking opportunity.
It's an
overtaking It's a braking opportunity. Of course, it's a braking opportunity. You got to brake to take the corner. It's an overtaking opportunity. I mean,
yeah. What are they going to prove by opening that corner up? Because turn 11 and 12 is still a flat out chicane. That's not an overtaking spot. Turn 13's probably your next best bet along the track, but
I think they're going to move the DRS section from 12 and 13 to up there.
At 10.
Yeah.
Is there going to be one long DRS section?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, it's not a track that's known for its ballsy overtaking moves, but
no.
We'll see.
Unless you're playing in the game, then you can pull off any ballsy overtake routine.
That's it.
So then we got our current track, Austria.
Yep.
There is nothing wrong with that track.
No. Oh. The only problem with this track is there's too many DRS zones. The problem is you get stuck behind the guy in front of you with your DRS open, and he's got his DRS open, which is worth the same. It's worth, 80 horsepower or something?
Yeah.
And, you're not going to get any closer to him, and he's not going to get any further away from you.
Which DRS zone would you take away? Because I sort of sit here and think 3 DRS zones on this track is pretty overkill.
Yeah.
Which one would you take away?
I would take away the main straight. I'd take 2 away. I'd take away the main straight one and the one from turn 3 and turn 4. And I'd just have the big braking zone up the hill into turn, or down the hill into turn 3.
You know what? I used to think that the one between turn 3 and 4 was kind of ineffective because it's an acceleration point.
Turn 4's too open to be an overtaking opportunity off the back of a DRS, whereas turn 3's tight. I feel like turn 3 is the better overtaking opportunity and the longest straight to utilise DRS.
See, I would take the one from turn 1 to turn 3 away.
Yeah?
Yeah. And let them actually use proper horsepower and slipstreaming the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Up the hill. Even if that's just to set them up, so then when you get through the hairpin, the turn 3, and then use the DRS down there. But other than that, I think it's a perfect track.
It's a good track. It's a track built for overtaking, but DRS sort of ruins it a little bit.
Then we get Bahrain.
Nothing wrong with this track. This is my favourite track to drive.
The only problem I've got with Bahrain is I think the DRS from turn 10 to 11 is ineffective.
Well, I would like to see the DRS from turn 10 and 11 be moved over from turn 13 to 14.
Yeah.
I don't know why that isn't a DRS zone.
Yeah. Again, because it's an acceleration point coming out of turn 10, it just feels like it's just there for merit. They really should put it on turn 13 to 14.
Yep. Yeah, they should. You'd have that DRS zone down into the last 2 corners and then the other DRS zone down into the braking point of turn 1. Yeah, I agree.
Now we've got Baku.
You can't do much with Baku.
Yeah.
It's a tight
Drop
twisty.
a bomb on it, but
Yeah, well, Armenia might agree with you. We'll see.
I think the only thing I would like fixed is turn 15. Because you come out of turn 8 and 9 and 10 and 11, which is the Maiden's Tower section. Then you've got the left-hander at 12, and then you get to open it up. And then you get to turn 15, where it's that silly one where it looks like it's a wide corner, but they've put the rumble strip halfway through the corner. So then you've got to slow right down so you don't clobber the wall.
That's the scary corner. That's when you come around that blind crest at 14 at 280 k's an hour. And then it's just this sharp left with a wall waiting for you on the outside.
Yeah.
Didn't they do some adjustments to this track this year? They did something with one of the corners and they flattened the...
Yeah, it was turn 8. They moved the rumble strip further in.
They did too.
Yeah.
I think... Oh, and turn 12 as well. I think they...
Yeah, they moved the
they
rumble
took the rumble strip straight out
Yeah.
and just left it to be a flat out to the wall.
Yeah.
But, that track's pretty limited in its location. You can't really change it because it's in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we got to one of my favourite tracks, Spa-Francorchamps.
You can't change that track at all.
No. The only thing I would change, I will come back to later. Other than that, that is a perfect track.
Mm-hmm.
And Eau Rouge into Radion, or is it Radion into Eau Rouge? It's Radion into Eau Rouge, isn't it?
Eau Rouge. Yeah.
Eau Rouge is the actual where the creek trickles underneath the track.
Yeah.
So it's Radion into Eau Rouge. That is one of the scariest corners in human history.
Yeah. If you're driving anything that's not a Formula One car, I would imagine it would be. Yes. going flat out towards that, we get the heart rate up every time.
Yes. Then we get Brazil.
They're moving from Interlagos though, aren't they? Are they going to Sao Paulo?
There was talk of it, but then they signed a new agreement.
I don't mind this track. I think they've done everything they can with this track.
It's hard to get a rhythm in it.
Yeah, you've got to be real good to get a rhythm. Like, the center S is brilliant, but tough.
But I'm going to say something really controversial. Sorry, Abu Dhabi, but this track should be the one that closes out the season.
Yeah.
This is the one where the title should be decided, is this track.
Well, let's not forget the last lap of 2008. Arguably the most dramatic title deciding race ever.
Yeah.
Where Lewis got past Timo Glock in the last corner of the last lap to win the championship.
There is so many memories with this track.
Yep.
Like this is a memorable track, you know.
Go back to Ayrton winning. Go back to Lewis.
Kimi winning the title.
Yeah, Jenson Button won the title here.
Yeah, there's just so much history here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they don't have millions and billions of Saudi oil money.
No, it's true.
And that's why the Sand people get 2 races this year.
Yeah. Canada, again.
Can't change that track.
There is nothing wrong with that track.
No, brilliant track.
Yeah. You've got the immortal Wall of Champions.
The Wall of Champions. It's long. It's fast. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. I love that track.
It's just a pain in the ass in the wet.
Yeah.
China.
Never been a fan of this track.
No, it's got that amazingly long straight from 13 to 14 that ends in a hairpin because, Herman Tilke really likes that type of stuff. But it is just a wonky thing that I think it was designed to look like a Chinese kanji character.
It was designed to look like, it was a Chinese letter or a Chinese kanji. It was something, but that doesn't mean it's a good track.
No. Particularly turn 1, 2, and 3 and 4.
Yeah,
it's just
that
horrible.
whole section's just terrible. You can't do anything. You can't overtake there.
And then you've got turns 9 and 10, which just, And then 11 and 12 into 13.
That's just so, like, turn 11's so fucking awkward.
Yeah.
And then I like turn 12 and 13 because you have to be patient and wait to get the power down.
Yeah.
And, the back straight's pretty awesome. But, yeah.
Kota.
I personally hate this track, driving it. But I can understand why a lot of drivers love this track.
The problem with Kota that I find is that it is completely unoriginal as a track.
It's taken the parts of every other track and put it together.
Yeah, and it just doesn't work. Something that I find really scary about it is going into turn 1, though, because you've got that elevation change that is, it's something special. Except you can't see where your braking point is until it's too late, and you're like, oh, crap.
Yeah, I don't know why you've got turn 1 into the Silverstone chicane. It's odd.
Yeah.
I really don't like Sector 1 of this track at all.
Yeah. And then you've got 16, 17, and 18. It's just weird. Even turn 15. Turn 15 is such an awkward corner.
Yeah, turn 15 is my least favourite corner on this track. It's just an awkward downhill, like double apex left-hander. You're just braking all the way down the hill.
And then you've got turn 19, which... Was it turn 19 or turn 20 where IndyCar decided they weren't going to obey track limits?
Turn
or
19,
whatever?
they were out in the car park at turn 19. It was just...
They were out playing golf.
It was the dumbest thing ever to watch.
Oh, it was so ridiculous. The Dutch Formula One, Zandvoort.
I've got no experience of this track I'm actually keen to see how this track goes. I don't think there's any overtaking opportunities here.
Well, when we did it in our championship, I made some overtaking opportunities going into the bank corner. But again, that's a video game, so it's slightly different.
This is going to be a very single line race, I think. Well, I'm keen to see how this race goes.
Yeah. It's But
It's a weird track.
But it is an old school track, which is nice to see something old school as opposed to something Tilka.
I guess.
Paul Ricard.
Yeah, we've been through this. The stripy maze of death.
Yeah.
I personally like driving this track in the game, but
Yeah, I didn't mind it either.
and it wasn't too bad of a Grand Prix, but
Yeah.
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 So
Hockenheim.
Curran Hockenheim. Yeah, good track.
Doesn't really blow up my skirt, I'm afraid.
Well, that's because we're living in the past and wanting the big oval through the forest back.
It's okay for a boy to dream.
I don't mind this track. I like this track a hell of a lot more than Nürburgring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like the stadium section, the back straight's good. I actually don't mind this track. Turn one's a fast kink down into a pretty heavy braking zone. And you generally get pretty damn good races here, to be honest.
Yeah, particularly when the weather comes in.
Oh, when it was raining, remember, like, 2018 was where, Vettel lost the championship here.
Yeah.
2019, when Hamilton and Bottas crashed, and that was voted the race of the decade.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good track.
Silverstone, I am not a fan of this track.
It's historic. You can't do anything with it. They've changed the layout of this track 2 or 3 times, but at the end of the day, it's still Silverstone. It's a World War II airport, mate.
It feels like the start-finish place is in the wrong spot.
Well, it used to be over the other side. MotoGP's start line's the old start line. MotoGP's, the start straight from MotoGP's between turn 8 and 9, and you go into Maggot, Beckett's and Chapel off through turn 1. Because Formula 1 used to start there too, and then they changed their mind and started over the back.
Yeah, I think that's where it should be. It should start at 8 and 9, not where it starts now. It just seems really awkward where it starts.
Yeah, well, actually, that wouldn't be too bad, because then turn 6 and 7 is the last corner, and you'd probably have a better chance at getting a last second lunge through turn 6 and 7 as the final corners on the track
Yeah.
than you would at turn 17 and 18 of the current layout.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right there.
Hungary.
It's a go-kart track. All the drivers love this track. It's a go-kart track. It's not bad.
The only thing I'd change about it is the 6-7 chicane.
Yeah.
Just widen it up a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it, or even it not being a chicane at all, just be a kink. Yeah, but you need some sort of variety, I guess.
Yeah. If I were to put another DRS point, it would be between 12 and 11.
Yeah, but there's not.
I don't think you need any more DRS.
I don't think you can put any more DRS.
Yeah. As my dog makes a cameo in the show. Imola.
Well, this track hasn't been back too long. We used to get some great races here back in the mid-2000s. I remember Alonso and Schumacher having some ding-dong battles here.
Well, the one we had this year was pretty good as well.
Yeah, it's a good track. I don't think it changed too much.
No.
It's a pretty fast layout into some good corners.
And it's only got one DRS point.
It only needs one DRS point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monza.
You can't change that. That's iconic.
No, it's perfect the way it is.
It's the temple of speed, and
Oh, look, I know the first chicane on turns 1 and 2 is really tight, but it works on this track.
yeah.
Maybe they could widen up 4 and 5 a little bit, but everything else about it is just chef's kiss. It's just mwah.
You got the challenge of the Lesmos, you got the Parabolica. Yeah, you can't.
And it's a track where you can turn the wick up and just blat.
That's it. This is the flat-out track. This is where you come in with no rear wing. You flatten that bad boy down to a number 1. and
Well,
you
it
just
is-
go for broke.
It is called the Temple of Speed for a reason.
That's it. That's where you get to see Red Bull come in with their single strip wing.
Yeah.
The DRS is just like this little tiny flap because
It's
that's
a
all.
piece of paper.
That's all the wing they've got because they don't need no wing angle here. It's awesome. I do like watching this on race day.
Suzuka.
Classic historical track. Reminds me of rain.
Don't like it.
Lots of rain.
Yeah.
I love it, mate. This is a
It's
driver's
the
track.
section. It's the section from 3 through to 7 that I hate. I just hate
That's the
it.
challenge of it. That's the beauty of this track.
I just
getting it
never
right
can.
through
I
there.
can never get a rhythm on this track.
Yeah, man. I love it. It's great. This is a driver's track, a challenge track. Plenty of good corners. You got the spoon curve. You got 130R into the final chicane. Such a driver's track, this track. I really like it. Good for mechanical grip. Yeah, I'm a fan.
And-
I've always been a fan. And you get to go the bridge. You get to go the over-under
Yeah.
to figure 8. It's brilliant. I love Suzuka.
And turn 15, which is
130R.
130R, frequently appears on JSR Devon's Idiot of the Week videos.
Plenty of idiots of the week through there, mate. That's
Definitely.
That separates the men from the boys, that corner.
Now we got Jeddah, which is the Saudi Arabia track.
Zero experience with this track. I've only seen the one digital lap of this track.
Eh,
Looks a little bit like Suzuka, doesn't it?
I don't know about Suzuka. It looks a little bit like Paul Ricard to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they've got to build it around what's existing, but
It's different.
it's going to be a fast track, but
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to go with overtaking on it.
It seems almost very single-liney as well.
Yeah, and because it's
unfortunately.
a street circuit, it's not going to be very wide.
I can see 1,
I think
2...
they've only got one place where they can really put DRS, and that's the start-finish straight.
I can see 2 overtaking spots. That's it. That's not. I don't know. I'm keen to see it in action though.
Mexico.
Yeah, I like this track.
There is nothing wrong with this track.
I just sort of wish they had the full parabolica at the end instead of the half one, but the baseball section's cool. The baseball section's cool when they bring the winning car up on that, like on the podium, and like in the middle of the stadium. That's sick. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing wrong with this track at all. Actually, not a huge fan of the turn 4, 5, 6 complex, but
Yeah, I don't mind it. And I noticed that returned in the Vietnam track
yeah,
that never got used.
yeah.
The only complaint is I don't think we need DRS between 11 and 12.
Yeah, you can't really do much there.
No, it's just you got the start finish straight, and you've got between 3 and 4.
That's enough. That's enough.
Monaco,
They're never getting rid of this track, are they?
no,
Ever. We're
it's
going to be driving beside the harbour in single file for the rest of eternity.
yeah. I think Monaco's biggest problem is that the cars have outgrown the track.
And they're 2 meters wide.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like if they shrink the cars a little bit, make them say 1.5 meters, we might get something a little bit more innovative.
But it will forever be the ultimate driver's track.
Oh yeah,
Like, in between the Armcos, I brought it up in the Monaco episode,
But-
You know why it's there.
yeah. It's Senna's playground.
It's the ultimate driver's playground.
Mugello.
I love this track as a MotoGP fan. I know this track well. I'm real glad. I'm happy Formula One comes here.
It's a shame that it's such a short lap, though. But
I don't think this track was overly built for Formula One, though. It was built for MotoGP.
yeah,
But it's flowing, it's fast, it's exhilarating.
and we had that spectacular stack last year,
Yeah, we did.
so that certainly made it interesting.
Yeah, you can tell it's a MotoGP track and not a Formula One track because turn 1 should be a lot tighter than it is if you're
Yeah.
going to design this for racing cars. But iconic circuit.
Nürburgring.
No.
Not the full Nürburgring.
Nah,
This is the
not a
F1.
fan. I hate turn 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, just
Shit. Just tight.
I do
miserable.
like the section from turn 11 through
I like the uphill chicane.
yeah, that's 13 and 14.
The uphill chicane is cool. Like the back straight onto the uphill chicane's cool, but the second one could jog on.
Yeah, it's meh.
It is.
Portugal.
Portimao.
Portimao.
I haven't raced here in the game yet, but I've raced here in MotoGP game. It's good. I actually like it. It reminds me a little bit of Bahrain in its layout.
Yeah, look, watching the race, I kind of got the feeling it felt more like Spain.
But it's so undulating. It's so undulating, like it's a roller coaster. There's a lot of blind crests. There's a lot of dips. The front straight's got this massive hill in the middle of it.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's a cool track. I mean, I don't think it lends itself to as much overtaking as it probably wants to, but it's cool.
It's serviceable.
It's serviceable.
Sochi.
Well, when's it? We've got 2 more years of this before they bring the big steamroller in and get rid of it.
Yeah. Other than, 13, 14, 15, 16, particularly 15 and 16, I don't mind this track.
Yeah. I don't mind it either. I like the big long corner around the Olympic Stadium flags and the big long back straight into the...
For me, the part of this track that I really enjoy is from turn 4 through to turn 10. I really enjoy it.
Just the zigzaggy... It reminds me of Adelaide.
Yeah.
The Clipsal track.
Yeah. Sakir, the...
Didn't get to drive this in the game, but it's half-brain track.
That's something I don't get. Like, it's a track in, that they've used, but in the game they've got the smaller one that... Yeah. The one they've got in the game that's the short track is just meh.
Yeah.
I'd rather this thing.
Yeah.
And Singapore.
Well, on a personal level, I fucking love this track. I've been here twice in person. It's good. It's good. I like it. It's a good street track, man. It's a challenge.
The corner right before the bridge. I hate that corner.
Because you kick your ass out.
And then every corner from 13 through to the finish, I just hate.
Well, you can't do much there, mate. It's along a bridge and then it's along a harbour.
Yeah, it's right.
But, man, the fast from turn 5 to turn 7 through that sweeper under the highway, it's fucking brilliant. I love going out, giving everyone COVID. Going down Raffles Boulevard between 13 and 14, out under the grandstand at 18, 19. I love it. I love it just on a personal level.
Spain. Boring.
Need to tighten up turn 1, 2 chicane. And
for me, I would get rid of the 14, 15 chicane and just make 13 through
16, a big fucking sweeper.
Yep.
They've got the track out there to do it. The MotoGP guys use that. Turn 10 they've opened up. But if you want a genuine overtaking opportunity, you need to make 1 and 2 look like Monza chicane.
I think
it's too open.
I think the problem with this track is because they use it for testing.
Everyone just knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it's a good track.
No. Turkey.
I love this track. I can't wait to drive this track again in the game.
And the thing was, like last year's race, it was really interesting because they resurfaced the track. Then it rained, so it was slippery as all crap.
Yeah. This was one of the best races to watch last year.
Yeah.
This was great to watch.
It seems like every time the weather gets involved, you get the best racing.
Yeah, you get the drivers on the limit.
Yeah.
Of performance and grip. And we certainly got that last year. I love this track. It's open, it's fast, and there's enough overtaking zones into 7 and 9 and 12 and 1,
Yeah.
Because turn 1 is identical to Coda's turn 1. It's uphill down into a sweeper.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm big fan.
Right. So that's the current circuits.
Yep.
So then we've got in the unused tracks, Vietnam.
Are they coming back to this track?
No.
They're not. I
No.
thought they were.
No.
Good.
Look, it's fun in places, but like the first 4 corners are stupid, and then you've got that silly section of 13 through to 16 where it's just
zigzag chicane.
Yeah, it's only wide enough for one car, and it's absurd. But from turn 5 all the way through to turn 13,
Yeah, that's a good part.
that is so much fun.
That's just wide open straight into a big sweeper in the chicane.
6, 7, 8, and 9 just remind me of Mexico. Yeah, so it's you can turn the wick up on those corners, get some really good overtaking going on there.
It reminds me too much of the China track, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
in the way it's laid out. I'm sort of glad they're not going back here.
So you don't want to see this track back?
I want to cut the back half of this track off and redo it.
Okay, but you wouldn't want to see this one back on the calendar.
If the market's there in Vietnam, I guess money talks. But I would like to see them redesign everything from 13 to 23. No, 13 to 20. Just,
It is a street circuit though, so they're kind of handcuffed.
I guess.
There's Agora Drive.
We will see.
We
Time
will see.
tell.
We will see. The Indian circuit.
I haven't driven this track since F1 2011. And I think at the time I didn't mind it.
Yeah,
I remember the back straight just being massively long.
kind of just reminds me of China or Coda.
Yeah, the back section's a bit tricky. But they actually talked about using this track again. Apparently there's a massive hump in the middle of turn 3 and 4 now. Like this big hill that the track's actually broken in half.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, I didn't mind this track in the game.
Would you, from a driver perspective and from a viewer perspective, would you want to see this track back on the calendar?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think the Indian market's massive. I think they're missing an opportunity by not bringing this track back.
Korea.
No.
No, that just feels like it's a knockoff Sepang.
Yeah, I would rather than bring Sepang back before they bring Korea back.
Mm-hmm.
And not a fan.
Magna Core.
That looks a hell of a lot more interesting than Paul Ricard.
Yeah. Well, there's a YouTuber named Aidan Millwood. Shout out to him, by the way. Go and check out his channel. He does sim racing as well as Formula One history and things like that. And recently he did a video using, I think it was Enseta Corsa, the game.
Yep.
Where he took the Formula Hybrid, which is their label for Formula One, the current Formula One cars. He took the car around Le Mans Bugatti circuit.
The MotoGP track, yeah.
And he looked like he was having fun. And he did a lap. I think it was a 104 or something like that. And as soon as he finished, he went, "No, Formula One should not go to this track." But he was saying during the intro, he's like, "Oh, you know, people are complaining about Paul Ricard." No, it wasn't him who was complaining about it. It was someone else. I think it might have been Tomo. It was someone. Someone was saying that people are complaining about. It's Josh Revell.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Josh Revell.
We've gone through 3 different YouTubers.
Yeah. We're shouting out to people who don't even know about us.
Shouting out to the professionals.
Yeah. Josh Revell was saying, you know, people complaining about Paul Ricard. But he said the racing at Magny-Cours is not much better. But the thing is, not much better is better than Paul Ricard. Paul Ricard has been on the calendar for 3 years. It's only done one decent race. This has been on the calendar, or this was on the calendar until, 2008?
Yeah.
And it had a lot better races.
Yeah, would the current cars go alright around here?
I don't know.
I guess we'll have to see how the 2022 cars stack up aerodynamically.
Yeah. Malaysia, Sepang.
Yeah, I like Malaysia. The only reason this track isn't on the calendar is because they pull bigger crowds from MotoGP.
Yeah.
But this track was good. This track was flowing. It's got like the Chinatown 1 and 2, but it's a different sort. It's like slightly more open. The back straight, like turn 14 into turn 15, and I love that section.
I hate turn 14.
Turn 14's tough if you get it wrong, but...
Because it's an off-axis, off-camber turn.
It is. It is, and there's a nice big gravel trap on the outside, but I don't mind this track. This track was good. This track was good fun. I wouldn't mind seeing this back on the calendar. I'd much rather this track back than ever going to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, that's an extremely small photo. But that is old Hockenheim.
That old Hockenheim. Yeah.
I want that back. Give it to me.
You won't get that back.
Yeah, I know, because the Earth has reclaimed most of the fun part of the track.
It was a fantastic track to watch back in the early 2000s, though.
Yeah, particularly when lunatic Mercedes ex-employees run out on the road.
That's it.
Yeah, but any proof of like wanting to watch a decent race on this track is, I think, the 2000 or 2001 German F1 when Rubens Barrichello got his first win.
Yeah, it was a hell of a race.
That was a hell of a race where half the track was wet, half the track was dry, and it was just a strategic move.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
It was absolutely fantastic, and I vote for this one to come back in a dream world. Old Spa.
Ah, this is what you're talking about. You wanted the bus stop chicane
I
back.
want the bus stop chicane back. I don't like the super overly tight chicane at the end. The last chicane and the current track. And I miss the bus stop.
I'm fine with either.
I mean, they're both great. They're both great. I mean, it's
the only thing with the bus stop chicane, though, is it takes away about 300 metres of straight, but because 19 and 20 is where the current chicane is on this layout, 17 and 18 is where the bus stop chicane would start.
No. 19 and 20 isn't where the current chicane is. The current chicane is where a little bit further up, where the kink is.
Oh, so it actually extends the front straight a little bit.
Yeah. Whereas when it's here, they put the power down and actually go around the kink, and they're actually faster going over the start finish straight.
I'm fine with either.
Yeah.
I'm fine with either.
Yeah.
Either way.
Other than that, it's exact same tracks. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But, the purpose of that, I just thought it'd be interesting. Go through some old tracks and just see what ones we'd want to keep, what ones we'd want to get rid of.
Yeah, our personal favourites. I mean, the race itself wasn't super exciting, and there's not a whole lot to talk about, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm glad we got that exercise out of the way, mate. That's good trip down memory lane for some good circuits and a good plug for some current circuits as well. And some personal favourites.
Yes. So now we get to... Jesus. I just looked at the time. So now we get to going back to the current season. The driver standings. Max Verstappen is leading the championship with 156 points, in front of Lewis Hamilton in second with 138. Sergio Perez is on 96 points in third place. Lando Norris is fourth on 86. He's doing really well in this championship.
He's very consistent, yes.
Valtteri Bottas is 5th with 74 points. Charles Leclerc is in 6th with 58 points. Carlos Sainz is 6th? No, 7th. 7th. My maths is crap.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos Sainz is 7th on 50 points. Pierre Gasly is in 8th with 37 points. Daniel Ricciardo is in 9th with 34 points. And Sebastian Vettel is 10th with 30 points. And the Constructors, Red Bull is in front with 252 points. Mercedes is in second on 212 points. That's pretty tight. But then you get the next two teams. McLaren in third place on 120 points. And Ferrari is in fourth with 108, only 12 points behind. Then a slight gap between Ferrari and fifth place team AlphaTauri on 46 points, with Aston Martin nipping at their heels on 44 points in sixth, Alpine in seventh on 31 points, Alfa Romeo in eighth on 2 points. Williams has, they've overtaken Haas on 0 points. And Haas is coming dead last on 0 points.
Williams ahead of Haas on 0 points.
Wow, that's certainly strange to say.
That's brilliant. Williams. Yeah. Unlucky. George Russell almost got them some points, but we'll see what happens this week.
So then this weekend is the proper Austrian...
Apparently.
proper Austrian Formula One race, Grand Prix.
Yeah, the Austrian instead of the Styrian Grand Prix. Softer compounds, maybe a different weather. Maybe we'll get some rain this time, like last time.
Yeah. I still think Max Verstappen's going to take this one.
Oh,
he's got the momentum on his side.
Red Bull's going to take another 25 points out of this. I reckon Perez will get himself into a better spot.
Yeah.
It's going to be another toweling. I think Mercedes would need something to go wrong with Max Verstappen's car to have a chance. I think it's just going to be more of the same, honestly.
I think the only change is I don't think Ferrari's going to do as well. I think they're going to munch their tyres a little bit.
It's a softer compound. I think a lot of teams are worried about that. They might actually be two-stopping this time around.
Yeah.
And, rain just adds more things into the mix.
Yeah.
So time will tell. And we don't have long to wait.
Yeah, only a few more days.
That's it.
So thank you for joining in this week. If you want to leave your track comments, leave them down below on what tracks you'd like to see come back, what tracks you'd like to see drop from the calendar. Thank you for joining in this week. Thank you for joining us and listening to us ramble on for a lot longer than we normally do.
Yeah, well, the race was sort of summed up in a neat little bow quite early on, so
yeah,
it was good to reminisce.
And we will catch you next time. On behalf of myself and JB, we will see you next week. Goodbye.